Hello. Welcome to the forest one more time. It's a Frankly Harry podcast. This is your host, Frank Weber. I'm so glad that you could join me today for another riveting and entertaining show here. I wanted to start off today with a story. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old or forgetful or just in too much of a hurry. Something that happened yesterday at Wal-Mart or maybe at my house. I'm not even really sure where it happened, but I just went in there kind of the slow period in the morning and pick up a few items, one of which was a little tube of wood filler or wood putty, just doing a little small project here at the house. Nothing big, not going to take long or anything like that, but I went to the self-checkout, which is even more common in Walmart in that particular store now, and that's kind of another societal commentary right there. But anyway, I scan the items and pay for them. 5 items on the receipt, 5 items in the bag. And so I take my merchandise and then I go through the exit, and those little buzzers and scanners that are there to keep you honest and keep you from stealing anything go off. And so I'm like, no big deal. The guy's going to come over and check everything, and he counts my items, 5 items, and then 5 items also listed on the receipt. So we have a laugh about it, and then I go and get in my truck and take the short drive back to the house. And then I get home and I start taking some items out, and then I have no idea if I took out this putty or not because I can't find it anywhere. And I guess it's possible that I misplaced it and I absolutely just can't find it anywhere, or maybe I actually left it at the store somehow. I really don't have any idea what happened, but I'm still very puzzled, and my mind is aglow with possibilities about where that could actually be. And I was going to do that real quick yesterday morning, so I wound up going back to the store and getting another one and doing the project real quick. And now I'm hoping I can find that other one and maybe take it back. But I guess hopefully some of you listening have experiences like that. It seems odd that you could leave behind your merchandise, paid for merchandise, at the self-checkout. I know it happened at the regular checkout years ago. Well, actually, they still have that there, but I decided to just do self this time. I don't know. I guess it has something to do with aging or forgetfulness or getting in too much of a hurry, not paying attention to detail. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, just a little personal story. It's kind of humorous. I think comedy is a great medicine for all of our ills, even frustrating situations or situations that may have even been semi-tragic or tragic. It's a great way to convey ideas, and satire is one of the big ways to do that, whether you're talking about social or personal or political issues, that sort of thing. That kind of leads me into a story today. I think I've talked about it. I don't know if it was on this show or maybe the other show, Frank Weber's Party, which, by the way, I may be taking down here pretty soon. It's been up for 9 months with no new episodes, and I'm kind of just thinking about taking it off and kind of putting it on the shelf permanently while I focus on this show. But I talked one time about something called midlife crisis, which you've all probably heard of, that I think happens in both men and women, and the psychobabble psychologists, people refuse to recognize it as any kind of disease or syndrome, but the symptoms are definitely there, and they're real, and it can be a difficult thing to get through. I think some folks actually go through it for years, or so I've heard, you might say. I think that situation is basically, for me, a lot of things, you've accomplished a lot of things are going really well in your life, and you kind of you kind of coast for a while, I think is what happens. And then what eventually happens later is that things start changing, or, including yourself, you're getting older, or you're changing life philosophy, or maybe your relationships are changing, or something in the outside world is becoming different. And you hit this wall and you kind of become disillusioned, and you start to wonder what else is there, or is this all there is? And it's a really, really trying time for a lot of people. Now, what I wanted to get into that's related to that, or at least a cousin of that, if you will, is a situation where a lot of people work for many years, maybe even a lifetime, to accomplish a goal. And they work very hard at it. They're very dedicated at it. And maybe one day, with a lot of hard work and prayer and help from others, maybe it comes true. And that situation, I see that a little bit less in pop culture, but it does get discussed a lot. Last week I mentioned on the show, or at least the show on the lifeguard, I mentioned Seth MacFarlane. I like a lot of his work. I don't agree with him on everything, but his work is quite unique, because my brother told me there was a thing years ago called Seth MacFarlane Stole My Childhood, where he basically imagines or reimagines various things, particularly from pop culture, that my brother and I, for instance, Tom, we watched as kids. And I ran across this video. I think it's out on YouTube. It may have been from Family Guy. It was very Family Guy-esque, where he reimagines what it would have been like had Wile E. Coyote actually captured the Roadrunner. And I was kind of a crazy kid. You might think I was sick or sadistic, but I kind of wanted Wile E. to capture him just to see what would happen. And of course, Seth MacFarlane in true form, that crazy fucking guy stole some of my ideas over the years. I can't get into all of them right now, but basically there's a little 2-minute cartoon where he not only captures the Roadrunner, but manages to kill him. And then he and a friend wind up consuming the Roadrunner, and he's basking in that great meal and that glory for a little while. And then he begins to realize, well, I captured him and killed him and ate him and all this stuff, so what do I do now? And he goes into like this deep depression and maybe a little bit of a mental crisis or nervous breakdown or something, lashes out at some people, and the cartoon ends in sort of a nefarious way. He eventually finds his way out of it before he commits suicide. But the point of it is that, you can be rivals with a lot of people. You can dislike them. You could consider them as someone who is in the way of attaining a goal, something like that. But then you realize, especially once they're gone, that you actually need them. And there's one more example that I'll use here real quick on that is, I was always a Smokey and the Bandit fan. The first movie is really, overall, the only one worth watching. The second and third are really not very good, but a lot of people think the third one is better than the second because of the ultimate story at the end, where Buford T. Justice captures who he thinks is the bandit. Now, in that movie, Jerry Reed, who plays Snowman, pretends to be the bandit the entire movie, and then somehow they get into this dream sequence where Snowman is able to look like Burt Reynolds, the real bandit. Burt only did that little cameo there. And so Bandit and Justice have this little heartfelt conversation like they really need each other. And, Bandit says, if you take me to prison, it'll be all over. So they realized that they needed each other. It had become a necessary relationship, maybe an odd relationship, but the sheriff had to chase the bandit, and they realized that at the end, and that was the last movie that they ever made. There may have been some other productions, I can't remember now. They weren't nearly as good or with the same cast, but that's something that's very real, too, that's related to things like midlife crisis. We can really despise, almost hate, and almost go crazy over these rivalries that we have with one another. I think a lot of it, a lot of the political stuff, like, I know George Washington denounced the two-party system, but maybe in a lot of ways, we need to have Democrats and Republicans sparring every so often, not just for balance of power, but to compromise and come up with fair and equitable solutions for everything that we're dealing with in our nation and the rest of our world, for that matter. There is one extension that I wanted to mention on that that was related to college football. I would really love to sit down here and talk for potentially hours or days on college football and what it seems to have become in my mind these days. I mean, it's so much more of a business now from the universities and the conferences' point of view than it is a simple game that used to be all amateurs and whatnot. But with a lot of the realignment stuff that's going on, some of these rivalries, even if they were technically rivalries from only one school's view, are ending. And it's very sad because here we are in August, another season before us. Hope springs eternal. A lot of people feeling like this could really be their year. And here I am, the point of the show where my age starts showing. I'm losing my train of thought. But usually one of their goals is to beat their rival or rivals. And if you think about it, so you get around to that game, the winning team is very satisfied. They managed to win. They defeated their rivals. And they will say to each other, wow, that's a great victory. Can't wait till we see them again next year to beat them again. And then, of course, what does the losing team say? Well, we lost, and it was a difficult game. They might have even said the other team had a better team. But they will also say there's next year to look forward to. We get another chance to play them and maybe beat them next year. And with the realignment and everything going on, a lot of those rivalries are falling off the schedule. There is no next year. There may be a next time somewhere down the road, but it's going away quickly. And I just use that as a point of illustration. I guess the best thing you can do in both of those cases, whether it's a true midlife issue or crisis versus actually completing your life's work, if you will, and then not having anything to do, is to try to find something else to do. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here, this as a creator in the arts and podcasting, writing books, maybe getting into some other things eventually. But that's about all that I had for today. I think I have a little time left. I wanted to tell that other Seth MacFarlane story, and I told, there's probably a million of them. I haven't seen all of his work, of course, and I think I told one of my hygienists this one time. But anyway, just to leave you on a kind of a humorous high note here. He had a show on Cartoon Network. Was it Robot Chicken? I think it was Robot Chicken now. I remembered its name successfully. I didn't know it a few minutes ago. That was largely claymation, I remember. And anyway, background on this, I'm not a dork or a nerd or anything like that, but my brother and I watched the Star Wars movies, the original trilogy, over and over and over again as kids, so we know it pretty well. But there was the scene in The Empire Strikes Back, the middle movie, where the good guys are in Cloud City and they get captured by the bad guys in the banquet room, and Darth Vader tells them, "Won't you come and have refreshment with us?" And of course Lando says, "I had no choice, they were here already," or whatever bullshit he made up. He was a dubious character. Anyway, and then the doors closed, and then I always wondered, what the hell bullshit or whatever they were actually talking about at the table, or what were they eating? And there was actually an episode of Robot Chicken where Seth MacFarlane answered that very question. That fucking guy again. I could have created that, is what I'm thinking in my mind. So, no offense to Seth or anything. I mean, it was still funny, but it had a scene where Leia, I think, asked Han how his salad was, and before he got tortured there in a little bit and eventually hauled away. But anyway, it was damn funny, and that's just another memory of mine that I thought I would share with you. A lot of good memories, a lot of good stories. Hope you enjoy them. Hope you're finding this fun and edifying and even educational, as I'm doing this once a week, and always thinking about new ideas, new suggestions, new ways to take the show. I would love to maybe, I've talked about having guests on here, and I know I have a little bit of a concern with that's kind of holding me back, but there's other things about maybe doing this show more often, or taking questions, answering them as honestly and hopefully humorously as I can. And I would really welcome those, in addition to your, sharing this podcast with family and friends, hitting the subscribe button. I'm really thankful that you're here as often as you can be, and that you're enjoying the show. But I really wish you would also contact me, even if it's not a question. Just drop me a line, tell me what you think or how you're doing. Perhaps we can connect that way as well. I'm also on social media, and you can find that through my website and the descriptions and whatnot for this show. So anyway, that's about it for now. I'm going to take off from the forest. Till next time, this is Frank Weber signing off. We'll see you then. Bye.